Well, Netanyahu's done fucked up. He killed 190 aid workers and that was all good, that's what was up. But then he went and killed 7 Western aid workers and targeted strikes on 3 of their trucks. They belong to the World's Central Kitchen, an NGO to feed the poor founded by celebrity chef Jose Andres. The crazy part is he was pro-Israel, but even he recognizes Israel went off the res. He caught Israel out and killing his team, airing out dirty laundries. Israel tried laying it to bed by saying it was a mistake, that they were going after a single Hamas member, but it was 3 truck explosions. People know better. This wasn't an innocent mistake. This was targeted killing of innocents, clear as day. Jose Andres said his team coordinated with the IDF. They actually shared their travel routes ahead of time, but you know the rest. They still all got blown up. 3 vehicles at separate points systematically laid to rest. It's one thing to target and intentionally kill brown Arab Palestinian aid workers, that doesn't matter. But when you kill white European and American aid workers, you cross a line that's hard to redress. Then you'll get critical coverage in the corporate press. So that's when and why just now Western governments have started to address Israel's war crimes. Don't get me wrong, it's political theater and they're dancing in step. Biden's trying his hardest to act like he's applying pressure while he does nothing, like, I don't know, maybe stop selling them 2,000-pound bunker busters or something. They want us to think they're inept as they continue to arm a genocidal ethno-supremacist state while pretending to condemn them like people don't see through that shit. Israel's in a PR disaster and Biden has the election to think after. Blinken said yesterday Israel's becoming indistinguishable from Hamas, which is wild because that's true as fuck. But the truth is it's been that way since the PA's presidents have been a boss. That's why Israel and Netanyahu funded Hamas. They wanted to divide the Palestinian state and pit a terrorist group against a legitimized Palestinian authority, and the PA president was Mahmoud Abbas. WikiLeaks files showed that Israel wanted Hamas in power in Gaza in 2007 to prevent Palestinian statehood, and Netanyahu admitted that in 2020, publicly telling the Israelis that whoever's against a Palestinian state should be for sending money to Hamas. And I know I sound like a broken clock, but this shit is crazy. I mean, prominent parts of society want to sacrifice red heifers. Evangelical Zionist goals to construct the third temple. And you can stay mocking me, but it's the world that's gone mental. Religious fanatics are committing a genocide in effort to bring about biblical prophecies, and it's so normalized they want to paint us as crazy for opposing it. I'm sorry if a little genocide got to me. It's sickening when you observe the atrocities. And the worst part is they've yet to cease. Nobody knows what's about to happen, but the possibilities are not lost on me. Is it gonna end like World War II did with the Japanese, or the Samson option where Israel nukes us all in defeat? Or will Gazans get a new lease? Will this ethnic cleansing agenda be allowed? Or will the international community defeat the beast? It's wild watching mass murder for days to weeks to months on end. Aid lines keep blowing up full of starving civilians, and Israel might pretend these are all mistakes, but more and more are seeing the truth. The obvious truth that Israel is an unhinged terrorist state, hell-bent on eliminating innocent human beings. It's genocide they're seeking, and I can keep going, but I'll say this before leaving. Within Gaza's the soul of the world, and the world is bleeding, half-starved from not eating, weary from being tortured and beaten, battling devils and demons, but through the blood, the pain and the dust, not weakened. There is a meaning, there is a resilience and a heart that stays beating. Israel's atrocities are its undoing, and the eternal soul never dies. Israel can kill, but they can't hide. When this is all said and done, I think Netanyahu will be tried in international courts for genocide. And if Israel is allowed to cleanse Gaza, it will still always be free Palestine.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks. Mr. Speaker,
what's happening in the Middle East, and in particular with Gaza right now, we have some moral responsibility for both sides in a way, because we provide help and funding for both Arab nations and Israel. And so we definitely have a moral responsibility, and especially now today, the weapons being used to kill so many Palestinians are American weapons, and American funds essentially are being used for this. But there's a political liability which I think is something that we fail to look at, because too often there's so much blowback from our intervention in areas that we shouldn't be involved in. You know, Hamas, if you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat. And you said, well, yeah, that was better then and served its purpose, but we didn't want Hamas to do this. So then we as Americans say, well, we have such a good system, we're going to impose this on the world. We're going to invade Iraq and teach people how to be Democrats. We want free elections. So we encourage the Palestinians to have a free election. They do, and they elect Hamas. So we first, indirectly and directly through Israel, help establish Hamas. Then we have election. Then Hamas becomes dominant, so we have to kill them. You know, it just doesn't make sense. During the 80s, we were allied with Osama bin Laden. And we were contending with the Soviets. It was at that time our CIA thought it was good if we radicalized the Muslim world. So we financed the madrasa schools to radicalize the Muslims in order to compete with the Soviets. There's too much blowback. There's a lot of reasons why we should oppose this resolution. It is not in the interest of the United States. It's not in the interest of Israel either. Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat.
Arafat himself told an Italian newspaper, quote, Hamas is a creature of Israel. He even claimed that former Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin admitted as much to him, calling it a fatal error. Now, you might be wondering, why should I believe mad Ron Paul or the famously shady Yasser Arafat? Well, you don't have to. You can believe top Israeli and US officials who've basically owned up to all this. Brigadier Yitzhak Segev, for example, who was the Israeli military governor in Gaza, and later told a New York Times reporter that he helped finance the Islamic movement. The Israeli government gave me a budget, he said, and the military government gives to the mosques. Colonel David Hakam, who worked in Gaza in the late 1980s as an Arab affairs expert in the Israeli military, has admitted that the original sin was Israeli support for Yassin in the late 70s.
Intended consequences, these things backfire. They come back to haunt us, not for giving all this money. Because every time there are civilians killed on the Israeli side or civilians killed on the Palestinian side, you can be assured that either our money was used directly or indirectly to do that killing. So we are, in a way, an accomplice on all this because we fund not $1 million here or there, not $100 million here or there, but tens of billions of dollars over decades. I believe the money is wasted, it's spent unwisely, and it actually does not serve the interests of the American people. First, it costs us money. That means that we have to take this money from the American taxpayer. And second, it doesn't achieve the peace that we all hope to have. Could it be true that only innocent civilians have died on one side and not the other? I don't believe that to be true. I believe that it happens on both sides, and on both sides, they use our money to do this. I urge a no vote on this resolution.
Gentleman's time has expired.